Conflict in Nepal. One after another, governments in India's neighboring countries collapse. Why did coups erupt from Pakistan to Kathmandu? Just imagine. A country whose mountain valleys were once filled with tourists is now engulfed in smoke on the streets. Stone pelting, clashes between police and protesters, and an atmosphere that looks like a battlefield. The scenes of arson, slogans, and shattered windows in the streets of Kathmandu testify that Nepal is going through its deepest political crisis. No one imagined that a controversy starting from a social media ban would take such a massive turn. The Gen Z crowd, who cannot be cut off from technology and the internet, challenged the government. And eventually, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, along with several Dhampis, had to resign. But the real question is, why Nepal? Why are governments collapsing one after another in India's neighboring countries? Sometimes Pakistan, sometimes Sri Lanka, sometimes Bangladesh, and sometimes Myanmar? Is this just a coincidence? Or is South Asian politics signaling the arrival of a new storm? Today, we will discuss this topic in depth. But before that, if you are new to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe so that you get the updates of our latest videos first. So, without any delay, let's begin today's discussion. Let me tell you, Nepal's recent coup was not just the result of a social media ban. It was the anger of an entire generation that grew up thriving in the digital world and was suddenly deprived of its greatest strength. The government's argument was that social media companies were operating in Nepal without registration and without setting up local offices, so 26 platforms were shut down. But since apps like TikTok and Viber agreed to follow the rules, they were spared from the ban. The restrictions on the rest, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, ignited public outrage. By the time the government lifted the ban, the situation had already slipped out of control. Protests and violence had weakened the ruling party, ultimately leading to political collapse. But this picture is not limited to Nepal alone. In recent years, South Asia has witnessed repeated power shifts. Pakistan is the biggest example of this. In May 2023, Imran Khan was arrested in the Tosha Khana case. And within days, Pakistan's streets were ablaze. Even the military was openly challenged. More than 10,000 people were killed in the violence. And eventually, Imran Khan's government fell. The very leader once hailed as the face of Naya Pakistan now sits behind bars. The coup in Pakistan proved that tension between the public and the army has become a permanent feature of its politics. Sri Lanka's story, however, was even more frightening. In 2022, when the country sunk into a deep economic crisis, power cuts, fuel shortages, and skyrocketing inflation turned ordinary life into misery. The situation worsened to the point where people stormed the presidential palace. Mahinda Rajapaksa was forced to flee the country, and through the 𝐼़ movement, the people showed that in a democracy, people's power is the greatest strength. To this day, Sri Lanka has not fully recovered from that crisis. It's worth remembering here that a country once called the Switzerland of South Asia was brought to its knees by hunger and bankruptcy. Bangladesh's situation has been no different. In May 2024, violent protests erupted there as well, forcing Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to step down. From the capital Dhaka to several other cities, people poured onto the streets. The accusation was that the Awami League and its student wing had long suppressed the opposition and strangled democracy. In these protests, the minority Hindu community was specifically targeted, which made the situation even more horrific. Sheikh Hasina was compelled to flee to India and seek refuge. This was the very leader who had ruled Bangladesh's politics for decades. But in the end, even she had to face a coup. Myanmar's story is even more terrifying. In February 2021, the military staged a coup and toppled the democratic government. Aung San Suu Kyi, once hailed as the savior of democracy, now sits in prison. Students, civil groups, and monks continue to take to the streets demanding the restoration of democracy. But the military's guns silence every voice. This makes it clear how fragile the thread of democracy really is in South Asia. Afghanistan's situation has been different altogether. In August 2021, when US troops withdrew after 20 years, the Taliban seized power. President Ashraf Ghani fled the country, and Afghanistan once again came under Taliban rule. Women's freedom, education, and human rights vanished in an instant. This was not just a coup, but the return of an entire system, one that showed the world how, after the exit of global powers, smaller nations can fall into the hands of extremists. Now the question arises, why are governments in India's neighboring countries collapsing again and again? The answer lies in several layers. The first reason is the economic crisis. In countries like Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh, the burden of debt and rising inflation has angered the people. The second reason is abuse of power. Leaders try to run personal regimes in the name of democracy. And when people's patience snapped, revolution erupted in the streets. The third reason is the pressure of external powers. Big countries like China, the United States, and Russia influence the politics of these smaller nations, and sometimes coups accelerate as a result. Nepal's current situation is the latest link in this chain. The social media ban enraged the youth. Gen Z, who spend 6 to 7 hours a day online, suddenly being cut off from the digital world felt like an attack on their very identity and existence. The result was that they took to the streets, and violence toppled the government. This is a clear signal that in the coming times, digital rights will play a crucial role in politics. For India, this situation is worrisome. There is an atmosphere of instability all around. To the west lies Pakistan, to the south Sri Lanka, to the east Bangladesh, and to the north Nepal. Political earthquakes are shaking every side. In such a scenario, India's security and diplomacy face a major challenge. The question is, how will India deal with the crisis of its neighbors? Will the region once again fall into the grip of instability and anarchy? Or will a new path emerge toward democracy and stability? History bears witness that whenever instability has spread in South Asia, India has felt its tremors. Whether it was Bangladesh 1971 war, Sri Lanka civil war, or the rise of terrorism in Afghanistan, India has always been affected. Nepal's current crisis is a reminder of that very direction. Today, the story of Nepal's coup compels us to reflect on how fragile democracy really is. It is not just a process of casting votes, but a fabric of people's trust and their freedom. When governments break that trust, people take to these streets. And when people take to these streets, even the strongest power can...
new. Do not forget to like and share this video so that this information can reach others as well. Your likes and shares are a source of inspiration for us. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know in the comments. It will be our honor to answer your questions and listen to suggestions. And yes, if you like our content, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you stay connected with every new story. Thank you. GRT Business YouTube channel sources, news from various news agencies, opinion polls and other public sources. We try to ensure that every report and summary is accurate and verified, but we are not responsible for any dispute or error. Our aim is only to provide you with accurate information.